Airstrikes in Syria. New details tonight on the U.S. airstrikes using Tomahawk cruise missiles. Now the world is reacting to President Trump's first major military action.
And terror in Sweden. People running from the chaos as a driver plows into them. The Central Texas man who saw it all happen. I'm Terry Gruca.
And I'm Mike Rush. Congress is reacting tonight to U.S. airstrikes in Syria.
President Trump launched a missile attack on a Syrian Air Force base, sending the message that this week's chemical weapons attack won't be tolerated. ABC's Kenneth Moton is on Capitol Hill with the latest.
President Trump's administration has been busy today briefing Congress and telling the international community the president had every right to launch that missile strike. Today, members of Congress asking the Trump administration what's next after his first major military action, strikes on Syria. 59 Tomahawk cruise missiles launched from 2 American warships in the Mediterranean, striking a Syrian airbase. President Trump giving the order from his Mar-a-Lago estate, changing his mind about Syrian President Bashar al-Assad after this week's deadly chemical weapons attack.
Assad choked out the lives of helpless men, women, and children. It was a slow and brutal death.
Syria and Russia calling the strike an act of aggression. UN Ambassador Nikki Haley at an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council.
It is in our vital national security interest to prevent the spread and use of chemical weapons.
Senators were briefed Friday on Capitol Hill. All agree Assad needs to be held accountable, disagreeing after Trump didn't ask for congressional approval to strike.
The power to declare war resides in Congress. It was illegal for President Obama to bomb Libya. It's also illegal for President Trump to bomb Syria.
You got to bring this to Congress with a plan that tells Congress what is involved, what's the end game.
The top Republican in the Senate says at this point that debate is not needed.
I think this strike was simply about don't use chemical weapons again. That's what this strike was about. So I don't think it necessarily leads to another conclusion.
But many members of Congress say Assad must go, and they want a comprehensive plan from the Trump administration. Kenneth Moton, ABC News, Capitol Hill.
According to the CDC, nerve agents are the most toxic and rapidly acting of the chemical for warfare agents. Sarin gas is a clear, odorless, colorless, and tasteless liquid. It is man-made and considered the most volatile nerve agent. Sarin can evaporate into a gas and spread into the environment, and symptoms of poisoning can happen within seconds. Large doses can cause a loss of consciousness, convulsions, paralysis, and respiratory failure that could lead to death.
Reaction from allies has been generally positive after the U.S. missile strike, but the response from Russia, it's been swift and bitter. The Kremlin calling President Trump's air raid, quote, an obvious act of aggression.
A flagrant violation of international law and an act of aggression.
Now the Pentagon is investigating whether Russia knew or assisted in the brutal chemical weapons attack.
We asked a lot of you online if you agreed with President Trump's actions, and here's what you wrote. Bobby saying totally agree with the decision. After what happened to all of those innocent people, someone around the world needed to take action. Pamela disagrees, saying we needed a strong response, but this was too hasty and unilateral. Sharon writes, I agree with the action, but disagree with him not following the standard guidelines that were supposed to be followed. You can join the conversation anytime on the KVUE Facebook page. We're continuing to follow the story tonight. Coming up tonight at 6, what lawmakers say about strikes like this going forward.
In other news across the globe, terror in Sweden after a truck rams into people in Stockholm, killing and injuring people walking along a busy shopping strip. Swedish authorities say the driver hijacked a beverage truck while it was being unloaded nearby, sped off down a long stretch of road and rammed into people, lampposts, and anything in its path. The attack sparked mass panic, people running in the streets from the area. So far, one person who was involved in the attack has been arrested.
A Round Rock man had just arrived in Stockholm when the attack happened. Amber Downing spoke with him an hour after that. Amber, it must have been terrifying to see.
Yeah, Terry, Mike, understandably, he was shaken. He says he had just arrived when he saw the truck running people over, and he took all the pictures and video in this story.
Taking this picture of emergency trucks on a street corner in Stockholm was an afterthought for Round Rock resident Odi Cavazos. Finding cover was his first concern.
I was out looking for something to eat, and I noticed a large garage truck, a garbage truck, and it was coming through. I didn't think nothing of it at first until it just started just running over people.
Cavazos took this picture of a lady crying after the attack, and this one of police getting into position, bracing for the possibility of another attack.
Non-stop, it was running over people. People were crying, screaming, trying to get away, and they ultimately just ran it into a building. There was a lot of helicopters. I ran as fast as I could. I'm a disabled veteran of the Marine Corps. So as fast as I could, I came back to the hotel. I called my family.
Police blocked off a large section of downtown Stockholm, and the U.S. Embassy instructed Americans to stay inside, including at Cavazos' downtown hotel.
All the trains here are shut down. This because they're fearing another attack, so they shut all the trains down.
A Round Rock man safe in Sweden, but still on high alert.
So initially, Cavazos told me he had trouble getting in touch with the U.S. Embassy in Stockholm because the attack happened right as business hours were ending. In the studio, Amber Downing, KVUE News.
Thanks, Amber. And on Capitol Hill today, the Senate has voted to confirm Neil Gorsuch to the Supreme Court.
On this vote, the ayes are 54, the nays are 45. The nomination of Neil M. Gorsuch of Colorado to be an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States is confirmed.
For 2 days, Senate Democrats tried to block the vote from happening with a short-lived filibuster, but Republicans implemented the so-called nuclear option and changed the Senate rules to confirm Gorsuch with a simple 51-vote majority.
The confirmation process was certainly a significant undertaking, one that wouldn't have been possible without the dedicated efforts of so many. So I'd like to take a moment to recognize them now. First, I'd like to thank the man who made this moment possible by sending us this outstanding nominee. That's our president, Donald Trump.
The Supreme Court says Neil Gorsuch will be sworn in as the 113th justice on Monday in separate ceremonies, one at the court and another at the White House.
After a cool morning in the 40s and 50s, sunshine, warming temperatures in many locations in the low 80s. Here's a live look outside from our Westlake Hills tower camera overlooking downtown. 81 the high today at Camp Mapry, right at the 80-degree mark at Bergstrom. Other high temperatures, upper 70s to near 80 degrees across the region. Pretty strong southerly wind in the forecast this weekend. A little breezy this afternoon, but nothing compared to what we'll have for tomorrow. Temperatures right now in the mid to upper 70s. Here's what we're tracking. Windy and warmer for the weekend. Wind gusts could exceed 25 miles per hour at times tomorrow, and a much wetter weather pattern for next week, including a chance of some strong thunderstorms Monday afternoon, Monday evening. Lots to get to. Full forecast coming up.
Yeah, changes on the way. Albert, thank you. Well, his birthday is about a month away, and already more plans to honor the oldest living World War II veteran, Richard Overton. The Austin Veterans Affairs Outpatient Clinic unveiled a kneeling bench at the Healing Garden in his honor. The 110-year-old served in the U.S. Army from 1942 to 1945. This is one of many celebrations before Mr. Overton's 111th birthday coming up on May 11th.
Prom season is upon us, and one group is hoping to make our children make safe decisions while having fun. They're pushed to steer them away from drinking.
And this might look like a regular neighborhood coffee shop, but it is far from it. We'll tell you why.
You're watching KVUE, where trust is earned.